It's 6 p.m. on Wednesday here in Korea. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. And these are the headlines we're following at this hour. South Korea launches the next phase of a project to restore an inter-Korean railway line that has been disconnected for 70 years, with hopes of laying the foundation for reunification. And another symbol sparking that hope, Lee Heeho, the widow of former President Kim Dae-jung, begins a 4-day visit to North Korea. To boost employment among the younger generation, the Korean government pushes ahead with a plan to implement a job-sharing system at public institutions. South Korea has marked the groundbreaking of a project to restore an inter-Korean railroad that has been severed since the division of the two Koreas in 1945. The government considers the initiative a significant step in preparing the two Koreas for reunification. Our Choi Yu-sun starts us off.
The 220-kilometer-long Gyeongwon line, completed in 1914, was mainly used to transport goods from Seoul's Yongsan Station to Wonsan City, now in North Korea. Since the rail line was severed in 1945 and partially destroyed during the Korean War, the two Koreas have been operating the disconnected branches on their respective sides of the border. In 2012, South Korea restored a 5.5-kilometer section connecting its northernmost Shintanri station to Baekmagoji station. On Wednesday, the South broke ground on a project to restore the section from Baekmagoji to Woljeongni, the line's northernmost station in the south, closest to the military demarcation line. South Korea then plans to complete work on the rest of the line, stretching to Pyeonggang Station after an agreement with the North is reached. At the ceremony, President Park Geun-hye highlighted the significance of breaking ground on this part of the project ahead of this year's 70th anniversary of the division of the two Koreas.
경원선을 다시 연결시키는 것은 한반도의 아픈 역사를 치유하고 복원하여 통일과 희망의 미래로 나아가는 출발점이 될 것입니다.
Calling on North Korea to choose the path towards peace and prosperity, she expressed the hope the restored railway will contribute to the success of her so-called Eurasia Initiative, linking logistics and energy infrastructure across the two continents.
유라시아 협력의 길을 따라 남북이 협력하고 영내 국가들이 활발하게 교류해 나간다면 동북아의 안정과 평화를 가져오고 유라시아를 창조와 평화의 대륙으로 변모시켜 나갈 수 있을 것입니다.
As the rail line also crosses the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, President Park suggested the two Koreas work together to develop the area into an eco-friendly peace park under the new name Dream Making Zone. Choi Yu-sun, Arirang News.
Former First Lady Lee Heeho, the widow of President Kim Dae-jung, arrived in North Korea earlier today. Her visit is largely aimed at providing humanitarian aid for North Korean children, but some are hoping it would also contribute to easing strained inter-Korean relations. Our Han Da-eun has this report.
Former First Lady Lee Heeho appeared upbeat before boarding a charter flight bound for North Korea on Wednesday. Prior to her departure, she took pictures with her 18-member delegation and said she's visiting the North with the hope of healing the deep pain of Korea's 70 years of division. She also said she hopes her visit will serve as a catalyst for the resumption of stalled inter-Korean talks, mentioning in her remarks the historic agreement adopted on June 15th between North and South Korea in the year 2000.
Ms. Lee said she's crossing the border with the hope the two Koreas will embrace the June 15th spirit and work towards reconciliation, love, and peace.
Ms. Lee's visit is mainly focused on providing aid to North Korean children. She's expected to visit children's hospitals and daycare centers in Pyongyang and hand out medicines and school supplies. She's also scheduled to visit a women's hospital to provide the necessary support. Whether she will meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un remains unknown, but pundits say the chances of an encounter are high, as her visit is the result of a handwritten invitation from Kim sent last December. If the two do sit down for talks, Kim's remarks could become an important indication as to how inter-Korean relations will unfold in the future. The former First Lady is set to hold a press conference on Saturday, the day she returns to Seoul. 한다은, 아리랑 News.
Foreign ministers, including South Korea's top diplomat Yun Byungse, will engage in a series of ASEAN-led talks that kick off in Kuala Lumpur today, with the territorial dispute over the South China Sea expected to be high on the agenda. In addition, all members of the six-party talks will gather to discuss regional security along with 21 other partner nations. The six-party talks on denuclearizing North Korea have been stalled since 2008. But the Iran nuclear deal has put a new focus on the multilateral forum. Minister Yun is expected to urge Pyongyang to re-engage in the talks and refrain from conducting a missile test in October around the anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. Shifting gears, Korea's rival parties have scrapped a planned meeting on allegations the National Intelligence Service illegally wiretapped citizens. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy says it will only attend the meeting scheduled for Thursday if the spy agency submits log files from the malware that was supposedly used to snoop on citizens. The NIS has refused to do so, and the opposition party says it would be pointless to hold the meeting without the logs. The ruling Saenuri Party agrees with the spy agency's assessment that the log files should not be released for reasons of national security. The Korean government is vowing to launch an investigation into Lotte Group to find the answers to questions that have long swirled around its opaque management system. This as the group, one of Korea's biggest conglomerates, is in the midst of a messy family feud. Our Shin Se-min reports.
Is Lotte Group a Korean or a Japanese firm? The question has long hung over the company, as key information about its corporate governance structure is veiled in secrecy. In terms of structure, Lotte Holdings, a company based in Japan, dominates the entire group, with its shares held through cross-shareholding agreements. Lotte Holdings is in turn under the control of an unlisted firm, Hwang Corporation, which has the largest stake in Lotte Holdings at more than 27%. In other words, the metaphorical head of the group, Lotte Holdings, is in Japan, while the body, Lotte Hotel and other Lotte affiliates, is in Korea. The founder of Lotte Group, Shin Gyuk-ho, is believed to have a major stake in Hwang Corporation and may have passed some of his shares on to his two sons. But all of the details surrounding the dominating firm are unclear. Under the Japanese law, neither Hwang Corporation nor Lotte Holdings have to reveal their shareholder lists. In addition, Hwang the group's de facto holding company, is not listed on the stock market, making it hard to know who owns shares and how much they hold. Korea's Fair Trade Commission has vowed to review the shareholding structures of Hwang and Lotte Holdings, the Japanese firms at the heart of the questions about the group's corporate governance structure. The ruling Saenuri Party and the government have also vowed to devise reforms to eliminate the outdated corporate governance structure, which allows the firm's founding family to dominate the entire group. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, young people in Korea are struggling to find jobs amid dire employment conditions. And to address the issue, the nation's finance minister says adoption of a wage peak system is a must, as it will create more job opportunities for young people. Our Kim Min-ji has more.
There are tough times ahead for young people seeking employment, and the remedy is a wage peak system. That's according to Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan, who says adopting the system is critical for the country. Speaking to government ministers and the heads of state-run corporations, Choi said that large public firms must take the lead and implement the system. He predicted job seekers in their 20s and 30s will face a so-called employment ice age in the next few years due to an influx of young people pouring into the job market. Under the wage peak system, the salaries of workers nearing retirement age would be lowered gradually, and the money saved would be directed to hiring young workers. In return, older workers would get more time on the job.
Implementation of the system is not a choice, it's a must. The move will not place a burden on taxpayers. The significance is that the older generation will be able to give the younger one even just one extra position.
Should all state corporations take part, the government anticipates the system will help create 8,000 new jobs over a 2-year period starting 2016. The government said of 316 state-run corporations, about 100 have finalized their plans, and 11 of them have already completed the process and are set to employ 200 new workers soon. More than 200 companies are in the process of drafting arrangements. The government plans to expand the system to private companies eventually. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Korea's foreign exchange reserves fell for the first time in 6 months in July. The Bank of Korea says the country's reserves stood at $370.8 billion as of the end of last month, down nearly $4 billion from June. The central bank says the slump is due to the strengthening U.S. dollar, which lowered the conversion value of non-dollar currencies. In July, the Australian dollar fell 5% against the greenback, while the euro slipped 2.5% and the pound depreciated about 1%. Korea was the 6th largest holder of foreign reserves as of the end of June. China topped the list, followed by Japan and Saudi Arabia. Korea is importing more wine than liquor for the first time ever. The Korea International Trade Association says wine imports rose 5.5% from the year before to $94.4 million in the first half of the year. Imports of the hard stuff like whiskey, vodka, and gin came in at $91.7 million. Spirits once took up 2/3 of booze imports, but wine now has the highest share at nearly 25%. Liquor fell to just over 24%. Wine imports have jumped with more Koreans interested in health and light drinking. Demand also increased for a wider variety of wine from vineyards in Chile, the United States, and Australia. Moving on to the latest on the MERS outbreak. Today, one more patient who was treated for the deadly virus was allowed to leave a hospital. 139 people have now been released out of 186 diagnosed with the disease. There have been no new cases of MERS reported for 31 days, and it's been 25 days since the last person with MERS died. Korea has warned 4 municipal governments of their ballooning fiscal debt. The Ministry of Government Administration and Home Affairs on Wednesday notified the city governments of Incheon, Busan, Daegu, and Taebaek that they have a debt-to-budget ratio of over 25%. These are the first warnings the government has issued since it adopted a fiscal crisis management system in 2011. Incheon had the highest debt level at 39.9%, while Busan had the lowest at 28.1%. The ministry warns local governments when their debt-to-budget ratio goes over 25%. When the ratio soars above 40%, they are categorized as being in a crisis. The ministry has asked the 4 local governments to submit fiscal management reform plans by the end of the month. Korea launched its first reserve officer training program today with a ceremony at the school in Daejeon that will host that program. It's all part of a government effort to fill its ranks with more officers and fewer troops. Our Connie Kim reports.
They stand resolute and determined, ready to protect Korea and its citizens. These young trainees are part of the first class of cadets in the country's first reserve non-commissioned training course program. A ceremony to kick things off was held Wednesday at the Daejeon Institute of Science and Technology, a 2-year vocational school in the heart of the country. While in school, the cadets will receive a military education alongside their regular classes and will go through training drills during their summer and winter vacations. Upon completing the program, they'll be staff sergeants. The first batch of cadets say they're honored to be part of this program and hope to be good role models for future classes.
After receiving the training here, I believe I can grow into a strong squad commander and formulate the right priorities for serving Korea.
I want to be an honest army officer for junior cadets, and I also will do my best to serve my country.
The program is significant not only for the school but also for the country, as the government seeks to increase the number of officers by more than 13% by 2020, while also lowering troop numbers.
One of the founding principles of our school is serving the country. In that sense, training our students to become officers has great significance and will be a great asset to the nation.
Looking around the new facility for the new cadets, school officials expressed hope the school will succeed in its new role as a training ground for members of the military. A total of 6 model schools will be offering the training program. Military authorities say they'll decide on whether to expand the program to other schools after a review in 2017. Connie Kim, Arirang News, Daejeon.
That brings us to the end of our newscast. More updates coming up at 10 p.m. Korea time, so stay tuned and goodbye for now.